Some people go their entire life without ever hearing the words, "I'm proud of you." And the strangest part is, they learn to act like they never needed to hear it in the first place. Think about the last time you achieved something. Not something huge, just something real. You got through a hard week. You handled something that almost broke you. You showed up when it would have been easier not to. And for a moment, you paused. Not for applause, not for attention, just for one person. Maybe a parent, maybe someone whose opinion always mattered more than it should have. You imagine them seeing you, understanding what this took, and saying simply, "I'm proud of you." But they didn't. They never really did. So you told yourself something easier to live with, that you don't need validation, that you're independent, that needing approval is weakness. But if that were true, this wouldn't still hurt. And some quiet part of you, the part that's still listening right now, has always known that. Have you ever noticed how some people can achieve something meaningful and still feel nothing? No pride, no relief, just a strange emptiness. Like you reached the finish line, looked around, and realized the one person you wanted there was never going to show up. That's not a flaw, that's a pattern. And it usually starts much earlier than people are willing to look. When you grow up in a place where praise was rare, or only given when you were perfect, or simply never said out loud, your brain learns something it was never supposed to learn. It learns that love is conditional, that worth is something you prove, that being enough is not where you start, it's something you have to earn. And the hardest part? The finish line keeps moving. Every time you get close, it shifts. So you try harder. You become easier, quieter, less demanding. You stop asking for things, stop taking up space, stop expecting anything at all. Because at some point, you learned very clearly that needing things only leads to disappointment. So you adapted. You became the one who didn't cause problems, the one who held it together, the one people described as mature for your age. And you smiled when they said it, because you didn't realize yet that what they really meant was you had to grow up before you were ready. Psychological research on childhood emotional validation suggests something important. When approval is inconsistent or absent, people don't just become driven, they become dependent on achievement for emotional safety. Perfectionism in this context isn't ambition, it's protection. Your standards weren't just discipline, they were armor. Think about the message you typed and then deleted, the one where you almost said, "I'm not okay." You stared at it, read it again, and then erased it and sent, "I'm fine." That's not overthinking. That's conditioning. That's what happens when your feelings were treated like they were too much for too long. Or notice what happens when someone genuinely compliments you. You don't receive it, you question it. Why are they saying this? What do they want? Is this even real? You deflect it, minimize it, laugh it off. Not because you're humble, but because being fully seen feels more dangerous than being invisible. Because if someone truly sees you and still decides you're not enough, that's the pain you've been trying to avoid your whole life. This creates something you might not even have a name for: the invisible approval loop. You keep doing, achieving, helping, overgiving. But the one place your mind learned to look for approval from never gave it. So nothing replaces it, not success, not relationships, not praise from other people. Because what you're actually chasing is a moment that should have happened years ago and didn't. And here's the part most people don't expect. Even if you got that approval today, there's a chance it wouldn't feel real, because the version of you that needed it was never seen when it mattered. So the loop continues. It shows up in your relationships. You give more than you receive, not by accident, but because deep down, you believe that's the price of being kept. Being needed feels safer than being chosen. It shows up in your work. You finish something, and instead of feeling proud, your mind immediately searches for what's missing, what could be better, what wasn't enough. There is no arrival, only adjustment. And it shows up in how you talk to yourself. That constant voice in your head, the one that criticizes, corrects, and minimizes, it doesn't feel harsh anymore. It just feels true. But it's not. That's not your personality. That's a wound that learned how to sound like your own voice. Imagine this. You spend years building a house with your bare hands, slowly, carefully, piece by piece. You make sure everything holds together, everything looks right. From the outside, it even looks complete. But there's one problem. One brick in the foundation was never placed, and you've been quietly adjusting for it your entire life. The house still stands, because you made it stand. But there's always a draft coming through that missing space, a kind of coldness you can't fully explain, something that makes even safe places feel slightly uncomfortable. And you don't talk about it, because the truth is, you didn't just miss hearing a sentence. You missed experiencing a feeling. The feeling of being seen, clearly, fully, imperfectly, and still being accepted. Not because you performed, not because you achieved something, but simply because you existed. And when that feeling is missing early on, nothing external fully replaces it. Because achievements speak to what you do, but what you needed someone to love was who you are. If this goes unexamined, it doesn't disappear, it adapts. It hides inside your success, inside your relationships, inside the life you build. You can be happy and still feel something slightly off. You can be loved and still feel slightly unsafe. You can succeed and still feel like it doesn't count. And you won't always know why, because the wound didn't leave. It just got quieter. So what do you do with this? This isn't about blaming your past, and it's not about turning people into villains. Most people who never told you, "I'm proud of you," were never told that themselves. The silence was inherited, passed down without anyone questioning it. But here's what matters now. You cannot spend the rest of your life waiting for someone to give you a moment they were never capable of giving. At some point, that responsibility shifts, and it shifts to you. Not in a surface-level self-help kind of way, but in a quiet, honest way. Looking at your life clearly, everything you've carried, everything you've survived, everything you've done without recognition, and saying, without minimizing it, "I see you. I know how hard this has been, and I'm proud of you." Not because you finally achieved enough, not because everything is healed, but because you're still here, still trying, still showing up, still choosing to understand yourself instead of abandoning yourself. And that matters more than you think. If this found you today, it probably connected to something real. Drop one word in the comments. Just one. No explanation, no context, just the word. Sometimes that's the most honest thing you can say. And if this puts something into words that you've never been able to say out loud, there's a good chance someone else in your life needs to hear it too.